Facebook. I have not done a video in a while, and I know I shared with you guys that I sent a demand letter to Facebook and that I am planning to pursue them fully in court. And I just wanted to talk to you guys about the battle for free speech that we're all seeing online and really what the implications are, and just the background of what happened with Facebook that finally made me think now is the time, and we need to start lawyering up because this is getting serious. So I don't think there's ever been a time in America that we have ever seen this much censorship. It makes you wonder if we have a First Amendment, if we are allowed to have differing beliefs, what the standard is for determining what's an opinion versus a fact. And I had a situation happen, and to be honest, the reason that I lawyered up is because so many of you guys messaged me on Facebook and sent me a screenshot of what you were getting when you were accessing my content about coronavirus. You know, I have been very outspoken against the mainstream narrative in terms of coronavirus, which was supposed to kill us all. I made it. I survived my 27,000th leftist predicted apocalypse that never came. I'm so glad to see you guys here with me. We survived another leftist apocalypse. Here we are. Very exciting stuff. But, you know, I was out early. I was against the lockdowns. I felt they were a steep violation on our rights as citizens. If we do not have a right to assemble, we did not have a right to peacefully assemble in protest. They stripped every single right of our Constitution, and apparently that was okay because there was a pandemic, which I now refer to as a scamdemic, right? So as you guys know, the battle about Facebook is about whether or not it is a technology, which it claims to be, which means that if they consider themselves to be a technology, everybody is allowed to use it. You can't say you can't use my technology because I don't like your opinions, right? Verizon can't say you're not allowed, even though they are a private company. Verizon cannot say to you, you are not allowed to use our service because you're a conservative, because that is how it works if you consider yourself to be a utility, which is what Facebook has said that it is, as well as Twitter. But if you're a publisher, you are allowed to censor people and say, I don't want you on your platform. And Facebook has denied that they are a publisher. Well, so during the coronavirus lockdowns, I shared something that many of you shared where I said that they were calculating deaths fraudulently. That is, if you died and you died of a clear alternate cause, but you were determined to have coronavirus in your system, even if you died from something completely not related to coronavirus, you counted toward a coronavirus death. In the beginning, that was assumed to be a conspiracy. Within a couple of weeks, it was determined to be a fact, as so many public health officials came out and said, yes, we are being liberal. Dr. Birx came out and said that. The director of public health of Illinois came out and said that. Many other countries came out and said, even if you get hit by a car and you have coronavirus at the time you get hit by a car, it counts toward a coronavirus death. Fine. Facebook censored that post that I wrote, and they used a fact checker company, which is known as, it's an LLC, a private LLC, that is known as leadstories.com. I want you guys to pay attention to this because this is important. What or who is leadstories.com? Facebook has apparently given power to a bunch of fact checkers. They're supposed to be unbiased, independent fact checkers that are just pouring your content to see if it's factually true. These fact checkers then can put a screen on your account, which you guys saw and sent to me, that says the content that you're seeing is not real. It encourages you to hit a link to understand that the content you're hitting is false stories. And then a writer on that third-party website, leadstories.com, will explain to you why the content is false. So I did some digging and I decided to find out who are leadstories.com. Well, apparently they are an LLC that came into play in 2016 during the election cycle, and they were founded by a former CNN editor of 26 years. His name is Alan Duke. The person that wrote the story and decided that my post was false was also a former CNN contributor of many, many years. So a bunch of people left CNN and started an independent fact-checking company. And they now have the power to censor conservative voices. And the way that it works is that if you get X amount of strikes on Facebook, they can pull down your account altogether. So it's a very serious threat. It's not just like, boo-hoo, it's one strike, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's very serious. I went through the correct means of trying to resolve it privately with Facebook. I emailed them. I disputed their claim. I sent them tons of evidence showing that what I said was factually true. And they essentially tried to wipe their hands clean and said, if you want these strikes removed from your account, you need to plead to the fact checker gods themselves and they have to remove it. I wrote to leadstories.com, also known as CNN.com, and it gave them all of the evidence, multiple doctors, as well as public health officials, which confirmed that what I said was true. And they essentially wrote me back and said, well, we have a doctor that disagrees with you, a doctor that nobody's heard of, that is from Washington State, who disagrees with me and thinks that it's wrong. Not only did she say that, but she also wrote that I obviously have no idea how asthma works, which I also used in my post to say if you die of asthma, you can then count as a coronavirus death. Funny, I don't know how asthma works or how an asthma attack comes on, since I've been an asthmatic my entire life, but apparently this doctor has said that I don't understand how anything works, and that's all it takes is for them to find one doctor that disagrees with you. And even if that doctor is in disagreement with every other doctor in the US, it is enough for Facebook to pull down your account. I decided to instantly lawyer up with Todd McMurtry, who was one of the lawyers on the Covington Catholic case. And, you know, I know that he is a big defender on free speech and that this lawsuit has been a long time coming. We have to take on these tech companies. This is direct election interference. They are censoring all speech that they disagree with, whatever leftist gods disagree with. And I think that it's actually one of the biggest threats that we're seeing going forward. Essentially, social media is the reason that Trump won. We were finally able to get around the mainstream narrative. In the past, the press has had so much power. Many of us were asleep, myself included. I believed every single thing that I read in the news, believed it had to be true. I believed Republicans were racist. I'm very guilty of honestly being a person that was an absolute sheep and bought every single thing that I read. And then social media happened and it was really the wild, wild west. And suddenly people weren't watching TV so much. People were mining the internet. They were looking at Facebook, they were looking at Twitter, they were looking at Instagram, and people that were able to tell them a story or give them an alternate point of view. And this is really where conservatives have made the most impact. This is where I found my voice. If you guys remember, I started on YouTube just 3 years ago with something different to say, and you guys shared my videos millions of views later, and I've been able to do things that I never dreamed of because of my ability to get my voice out, not a voice that was compromised by the mainstream narrative, but my voice out, my opinions, things that I am allowed to say in a free country. Facebook realizes, or the leftist gods and the mainstream media gods realize now that this is a problem for them because it gives them less control, right? If they can't just censor someone, or if they can't just smear someone and say, don't look at this, it's racist, or don't look at this, it's sexist, or don't look at this person, it's a conspiracy theorist. And instead, you guys are allowed to go directly to our pages and hear our voices and say, hey, that doesn't really make sense. I heard what she was saying and I don't actually agree with the mainstream media narrative. If we don't have the ability to hear different opinions and Facebook and Twitter are starting to join and say that certain content is false or defamatory or block that content, we have a problem. We are arriving suddenly into a media type oligarchy, which is what I think that we've really been existing under for a really long time. This power grab that we're seeing, we're even seeing doctors being censored. You guys know the doctors who gave a different opinion about the coronavirus, who said that they didn't think it was going to be deadly. They wound up being accurate, that they disagreed with Dr. Fauci. They were all censored from the internet. We're talking about doctors, surgeons, nurses, people that are have every right to get out and tell you what they are seeing in the emergency rooms. They were censored. They were pulled down from the internet. Tucker Carlson did a wonderful segment showing what sort of content is being censored from Twitter and Facebook. And they're allowed to do it because no one has actually checked them. This is a really, really, really big lawsuit that I'm talking about. I am also been pretty strong about saying that we need to have the Supreme Court need to take a look at Sullivan versus the New York Times. It should not be acceptable that because I am considered a public figure by whatever standard the journalists have made up, that they are allowed to lie, that they are allowed to smear, that their opinions are protected, and they can say as many wild things as they want about Trump, about conservatives that are in public because they're public figures. That's protection for the media to the detriment of private citizens, because it allows the media to lie to you about what is going on in the world. It gives them permission to lie about Donald Trump. It gives them permission to lie about Ivanka, about Jared, about me, about Don Jr., about Ben Shapiro, about any person in the public space that is a conservative. They have an opportunity to lie, okay? Because they are hiding behind New York Times versus Sullivan. So when I hit up Todd McMurtry, I said, listen, I want to take this all the way to the Supreme Court. I know we won't win in the lower courts. I know they'll say, Candace, you're a public figure, and whatever is said about you, however you're censored, whatever opinion we put out about you, it is completely permissible. But you know what? We have an interesting Supreme Court bench right now. We have people that have lived the nastiness of the media. Clarence Thomas knows what it's like to be on the other side of that. Brett Kavanaugh knows what it's like to be on the wrong side of that. And beyond that, all of us just having the courts in general. This is not an objective decision that we're seeing the media make. It isn't fair. It's not fair to you. It's not fair to me. It's fair to nobody. We cannot just have conservative voices. Our options are either to be censored or smeared, censored or libeled if you're a conservative, right? And so it is going to be a really big case. It's going to take a lot of time, but I think it's one of those things where if we don't start taking on these, David versus Goliath type cases, I think we're going to be doomed. So I just wanted to update you guys on what I'm doing. I know so many of you guys wrote me and asked how you could donate. We haven't opened up donations yet. We're trying to figure out a way to do that so it's a really transparent process. And first we want to wait for Facebook to, respond to the demand. All of that stuff's out. I don't even trust GoFundMe, who even knows that sort of a thing. For those of you that have been supporting me, the donations that have gone to GoCandace.com will be supporting the earlier part of this mission, but I'll give you all those details later. I just wanted you to know what the background of this was, and I know that you guys know it and you live it, and you've been the ones that have been sending me the screenshots of what you're seeing. Please continue to do that. It's very helpful for us to know what's going on behind the scenes and what you're seeing on your end as well. I just wanted to update you guys and everything that's going on. So thank you guys for all your support, and I will try to do videos more often, and hopefully you're not getting a false stories little notification right now, because this is a very true story. Facebook, I am coming after you. Thanks, guys.